Hello. I just wanted to give everyone a quick snapshot of how I created my submission for the first animation award. And it started out with this little thing. My original concept was to do it specifically on laptops. So I used the one that I made this on as a reference and created this small little thing with a video emission shader for the screen. And I had saw my dad's like pro keyboard, like 100% keyboard, and I thought that might be fun, separate it from a real laptop. And I thought, okay, I have that done, but it looks sad and boring, so I'm gonna give it a little scene. And that's before I thought about anything I wanted to do with it. And then I realized, wait, what am I gonna do? And I went onto my notes app, Obsidian, and I just opened up a new note. For me, it wouldn't exactly be a new note, but yeah, let me open this up. And I started creating myself this little thing. At some point, I decided to axe this credits so that I could actually show when and like how much time I was putting into the city because it took me like 2 months to create. So I was like, no, this won't work. I'm gonna just like Ken Burns kind of thing. And it's just a bunch of like a little checklist. Yeah. For example, that hacker device, it was just hackertyper.com. And for some things, I just had like create a bunch of bubbles without elaborating because I haven't figured that part out yet. But after that, I was like, okay, let's create the little city. So went and I started out. This is my first save, and it is a nothing. It is a little grass simulation using like the hair sim kind of thing. I have some volumetric water. I have this icosphere that I booleaned and a bunch of spheres that I put together. It's not much. And I deleted the final product so that it could like use less render time at the end for one of the shots. But I do have a bunch of like screenshots and like test renders here. Like here's my first test render. You'll see that like I have this monorail now that I made with a geometry nodes tree. I have this little icosphere, some trees, a hill. And I also have this weird little square cubey thing. After that, I changed some positioning, scaling, added some glass structures, and this weirdly reflective chrome ball. My next render, I again changed the positionings of stuff. I added a bunch of more structures. And, like this whole thing was inspired by the Tomorrowland movie. I don't know if you've watched it, but everything's sort of looking like this. And I have this little nice little tower. I made this like screw modifier. And I just added a bunch of cubes together and I realized that that looks just like a futuristic building. Like it's just a bunch of cubes with a procedural grid modifier, texture. And I tried to get like a volumetric cloud kind of thing to work. It did not work at all. So I axed that in favor of an HDRI. And then I added this like amorphous solid kind of thing that's not really that visible in the final render, but it's there. And I procedurally added these rocks. Yeah, they're added here. So I still procedural subsurf. And then I do think that my denoiser I could have had a few more samples on here because well I think I'm being perfectionistic and that's probably just the render noise from when I added compositing to this. Here it's just a minor adjustments. I then here we add in a bunch more structures made out of just combining random stuff. And finally just a lot more of that. And then I put in this little skyline just by putting a bunch of cubes together. And like this took me 2 months, honestly. Like with everything, Model UN, musicals, it took 2 months. This is my free time. My friends didn't see much of me. So yeah. And then for the like text bubble kind of thing, I have my text bubbles, as one would expect. And I was just starting out and being like, okay, so what do we do? So I just thought of like, okay, texting, yes. And If you don't get it, like this is the first computer virus, the creeper virus, which would just like spam send to every one that you had on your email list. I'm the creeper, catch me if you can. And like, yeah, and I was like, okay, text bubble. I looked up the apple green, and I said that works. But then I said, okay, now so a blue text bubble. This came out more like a speech bubble. I was like, okay, what else can we display text? I like movies, you know, and like old stuff. I was like, oh, okay, a movie marquee. That sounds fun. Then I was building this right at the time iOS 26 was announced. So I thought, okay, liquid glass. Perfect next step. So I used these metaballs to just kind of do that kind of thing. Then I thought, huh. I took a little break. I watched Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and I thought, perfect, name tag. So I put in like, hello, I'm, and I thought this was pretty clever. Hello, I'm the creeper, catch me if you can. Oh, and also, I forgot the browser notification. I'm the creeper, catch me if you can, block allow. Hmm. There wasn't much to this. I added a grease pencil outline, and I put a little lighting, like parented to the camera, and that's pretty much it for this segment. A lot of the rest, as you saw here, like it was just screen recording a lot of stuff. So like I asked one of my friends to send me an email that looked like it could be like a scam kind of thing. So I screen recorded my mouse going to click that. Then like I did a screen record of hackertyper.com as I've already mentioned. Then I screen recorded like this computer like security video just to be like funny, like kind of meta. And yeah, and like after that, I started editing the video and I did sub-render it quite a few times just so it didn't like split too much. And I believe the main thing that I did for the like old film effect that I settled on was just this little node tree. I added a little chromatic aberration, but not enough to be noticeable really. I added some render noise and scan lines because scan lines are fun. And I have the projector whirring sound effect just constantly going. And of course, the narration. When I realized that it was like last week, like I had a week before, I had a week to complete this thing, and I still needed to have narration because it did not sound or look or be understandable without the narration. So I was like, okay, who do I know with a narrative voice? My socials teacher, Mr. Genest. Perfect. So, of course, I asked him one day, hey, do you want to narrate my video? I know you've done theater, so you know how to act. And he was like, yeah, sure, come after school. I came after school. He narrated, gave it a few takes, all on like voice memos because I don't have a good mic. And that's what gave us this. And yeah, this is pretty much just what happened. And like, I just admire the scan lines whenever I'm bored. Like, that's how much of a nerd I am. This aberration, I love it. And the day before, I asked like my dad, "What can I add?" And he was like, "I didn't really get that email thing, so I added this." I was like, and I showed him what it looked like with the projector. I didn't have that rendered, so I just showed him like thi- I showed him like this little projector room, which I made just by using a volume and a projector camera, which does not seem to be working right now, but that is a problem for another time. And yeah, that's pretty much how this was done.